Maajid Nawaz has been deplatformed off of his LBC show, probably due to the gradual, well, I don't know if it's gradual, the red pilling that he's been putting out on Twitter. Just a reminder for everybody who may not be familiar with Maajid. I'm going to get his name wrong so many times here. He is would you say classical liberal?
Oh, yeah.
Classical liberal commentator who's been on LBC for a few years, hosting his show there. Also, the former head or co-founder of the Quilliam Foundation, which I'm not particularly familiar with, but it seems to have been in a good cause.
Yeah, well, it's an anti-radicalization charity, non-profit, that was designed to prevent Muslim radicalization.
Sounds like a very good cause to me. But earlier on last year, this sadly appears to have shut down. As you can see here in this article, Maajid Nawaz has announced the closure of the Quilliam Foundation due to financial difficulties caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. Nawaz, who co-founded the organization in 2007, said, "Due to the hardship of maintaining a non-profit during COVID lockdowns, we took the tough decision to close Quilliam down for good. This was finalized today. A huge thank you to all of those who supported us over the years. We're now looking forward to a new post-COVID future." In 2018, an academic at the University College London said the public shouldn't trust the Quilliam Foundation report on grooming gangs, and especially its claim that 84% of grooming gang offenders are Asian, which seems like one of those statements.
Seems like a low estimate.
I was going to say, also a statement that they put out and they just don't actually have any evidence to refute it with. They just go, oh, just don't trust it.
I mean, you can look at the convictions of the people who were the members of the grooming gangs and just look through them and point to the person who isn't an Asian.
There are those fantastic, like you say, the collages of all of the faces, and they all share a few distinct characteristics with one another. But yeah, so
what do all these Mohammeds have in common?
But Maajid obviously is a man who is not unfamiliar with controversy. Sad to see that this organisation is closed, but those are just the realities of it. But obviously he'd been getting in trouble for a while. And since COVID began, he's also been quite hardline on his anti-lockdown stances. To the point.
Just to be clear as well, the reason that Maajid is heavily anti-lockdown is, I think, because of his classical liberal ideology.
Yes.
As I've maintained for the same reasons for the entire time. The government simply doesn't have the authority to shut down our businesses and to lock us all in our homes. And so I've been completely supportive of Maajid's perspective on this, to be honest.
Yeah, as have I. He's been very interesting and very, very illuminating on a number of subjects on his Twitter, if you've been following him there. And on Getter as well now he's got. So you
While he's still got his Twitter.
Yeah, I was going to say probably best to follow him on Twitter, on Getter, if you want a safer bet for him sticking around there, especially given some other stuff that we're going to be discussing. But you can see here on the 18th of December, he was attending the London protests against the potential lockdown restrictions that the government were considering at the time. He actually chose not to appear on his LBC show that day, so I can't imagine that pleased the producers over there, but he was tweeting about it, saying London is rising and we are coming. He's not just been eager to participate in the English lockdowns as well. If you move along, we can see he's also been posting stuff about other protests that have been going on all over the world, really. He's got this one from Hamburg, Germany, where there was masses of people showed up to protest against lockdowns that are going on over there. So he's a man who stands by his convictions by the looks of it, and he's also been very vocal about it on his LBC show as well. So if you move along, you can see him tweeting about when he was speaking to a Holocaust survivor who was also against the COVID mass hysteria, as he's putting it, and had labelled the hysteria the real pandemic and called for mutual respect and choice in how we live, which is pretty excellent that he managed to get someone from... He pulled a full... Gina Carano there, basically with the comparison. So really, it was only a matter of time until somebody decided they wanted to shut him up.
Well, he's been quite off the reservation when it comes to the establishment narrative on COVID.
Yes,
that's Maajid's problem here, and that's why he's being kicked out of the club.
Exactly, and if we move along, we can just see some more stuff that's been happening with him. The new, well, now it's Meta, the Facebook Meta-owned Instagram doing what it does best. My account has been suspended. So you can see here that his account had been suspended twice, and it had been deleted in the past as well. So whatever he'd been putting out there, Zuckerberg was not happy with it. Once again, just another example of some mainstream media silencing there. If we move along again, you can see some of the other stuff that he was saying, which has probably been labelled him a different type of extremist to the ones that he was combating in Quilliam. TikTok, Pfizer, we are coming, which is in response to the FDA's rejecting of the 75-year delay on vaccination data.
No, it was a judge that rejected it.
Oh, was it a judge? Oh, yes.
The FDA wanted the Pfizer vaccination data to be locked up for 75 years.
I wonder why.
Yeah, exactly. So all of the people involved will have been long dead. But apparently in like 8 months' time, we're going to be getting access to it.
That'll be very interesting. We'll have to...
I imagine there are going to be some bombshells in there, to be honest.
We'll have to take a look at that.
That won't be allowed to be spoken about on social media because that's how a democracy works.
Absolutely not. But it's not just anti-COVID lockdown and some vax skepticism that's been getting him in trouble. He's also been a bit of a Jan 6
that's right
type.
Yeah.
So
we just for YouTube, we have to make it very apparent that we believe that Joe Biden is not just the legitimate president, but the most legitimate president
ever
in all of human history.
You've seen the numbers.
He certainly won a free and fair election. Carry on.
Yes. But here's...
Maajid Nawaz is obviously totally wrong about all of this.
Yes, of course. We're not condoning anything Maajid says. But here is him posting a picture of Ashley Babbitt, who was the only person to die on site at the Capitol Hill insurrection.
Because she was shot in the throat.
Yes, stating that the family of Ashley Babbitt will see justice through due process. R.I.P. Ashley Babbitt, with an image of her, I think, probably taken from around the time that it happened. So, Maajid kind of poking the hornet's nest a little bit there with his support of...
to be clear as well, Maajid wasn't a Trump supporter. I mean, he's a Liberal Democrat Party member, I believe.
Oh, really?
So he's not a Trump supporter, but, he's not wrong that this is an injustice and needs to be rectified.
Yeah, I mean, Ashley Babbitt, the only person who died on site. Have we heard anything regarding the person who did it?
Oh, he was exonerated.
Oh, yeah, of course he was, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yep. He's also been going up against Bill Gates and other types. If we go ahead, every time this man strokes further COVID hysteria, remember his major conflicts of interest. He literally profits from your fear. And if you go down on here, you can see this Times article saying that Bill Gates and Soros had bought out a UK COVID test company, which is very interesting news.
Maajid really going for those interesting places.
Yeah, but he is very good at this. If you do follow him on his Twitter or Getter, he's very good at collecting all of this information and putting it out in basically on threads as bullet points, just divulging all of this information that would probably be hard to track down yourself otherwise. So
this is the thing though as well. This sort of information doesn't get like round media coverage. It gets one article that just gets buried in the constant flow of information.
Yes, so we do need people like Maajid to keep reminding us that, hey, this happened before.
And collect it all together.
Yeah, the 24-hour media news cycle will just try and make, like you say, bury this stuff. Yeah. But as you can imagine, poking these hornets' nests and going where these topics are verboten has been getting him in a little bit of trouble with certain MPs and other broadcasters. Here's Labour MP Chris Bryant tagging LBC and saying, this man is dangerous.
Right. So a politician is, what, intimidating a broadcaster? Or?
Intimidating a member of the free press.
It seems that way. I mean,
it's not a particularly liberal position to take, is it?
Well, no, but he's Welsh Labour. Rhonda Bryant, he's Welsh Labour. And so he's a communist. So it's not surprising that he's targeting the Liberal for deplatforming when the Liberal, as you can see by Maajid's tweet, is talking about he's complaining we are witnessing a global palace coup that suspends our rights under the guise of an emergency that has been proven to be manipulated by a network of fascists who seek a new world order governed by technocratic corporatism. Well, how's he wrong?
Whether or not you think that's dangerous, I'm sure every single thing that Maajid says there, he probably has receipts.
Oh, absolutely.
For every single point that he's bringing up.
But who is that dangerous to? Well, it's dangerous to those agents of the technocratic New World Order, as he puts it, because he's going against their narrative. He's exposing what they're doing. Yeah, he's dangerous to them.
Yes.
He's not going to hurt any regular people. There's not a threat to the public. Yeah,
and just in case you're worried that those technocratic corporatists are partisan, they're not, because if we move along, supposedly conservative Ian Dale posted this on his Twitter as well, once again,
before we go on, this is the thing, isn't it? The technocratic corporatists just don't, they're both wings of the same bird. It's like they are the bird.
It is a bipartisan tyranny.
Yes.
You could describe it
Well,
as.
it's not even that. Like the partisan politics, this is a step above that. This is way beyond partisan politics. These people own the world. People like Ian Dale are just in their line and they know it.
Yeah, the shills. In 11 years on LBC, I've never publicly called out a fellow presenter, but I can't stand by while this sort of irresponsible and dangerous propaganda is spread by someone who ought to know better. Shame on you, Maajid. Shame on you. Boosters save lives. Scientific fact. I really love the sort of doom and gloom tolling of the bell.
Yeah.
Shame on Maajid. Once again, I don't see any sort of, whereas Maajid would probably once again have some receipts for what he's talking about, some evidence. I once again don't see any actual refutations of what he's saying. You're just saying, shh, you're being dangerous.
But I mean, is he even saying that he's wrong, right?
Well, that's the thing.
Maajid says, based on the above, so he's obviously given a thread full of information. I believe fully scientific and verified concerns around potential crimes against humanity. I have no choice but to become a conscientious objector in solidarity with the unvaccinated. So he's had vaccinations. So it's not like he's an anti-vaxxer or something, right? They can't call him that. And he's not saying that the boosters don't work. He's saying he's not getting any in solidarity with those people who are unvaccinated, because the people who are unvaccinated are being treated like second-class citizens, which Maajid, as a liberal, can't tolerate. And Ian Dale's acting like he's saying the boosters have no effect on COVID or anything like that, but nobody's saying that.
Yeah.
I'm sure they do. And so Ian Dale is not even addressing his point, which is embarrassing for Ian, to be honest.
But you can see there as well the fact that it's just a bit of a pile-on, given that Ian is a fellow presenter on LBC, which will inevitably put some pressure on the higher-up producers within LBC to say, okay, if this is going to be causing conflicts and tensions, we're going to have to weigh up which one is worth more to us, which one makes us look better in the mainstream by pushing the narratives that we know are the correct ones. The correct narratives. And as a result...
halal narratives.
Yes, as a result, LBC have come out with this just the other day saying Maajid Nawaz's contract with LBC is up very shortly, and following discussions with him, Maajid will no longer present a show on LBC with immediate effect. We thank Maajid for the contribution he has made to LBC and wish him well. So you can see there, he's gone. He's done on LBC.
Interesting statement.
Immediate. It is a very interesting statement because they're trying to definitely frame it like, no, this was completely mutual.
Oh, yeah.
Maajid and I, we had a discussion with him. We were in many discussions with him, and he just agreed. He just agreed to be taken down off of this platform where he gets to speak to thousands of people.
Well, probably millions, but
yes.
But he's agreed to leave with immediate effect, consensually. Why would he agree to immediately leave? Why not have a month's grace period?
He agreed to be escorted out by our security.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. But why would it be immediate? Why not? Okay, well, he's going to be on for the next month and then he's going to leave because that's how the contract works.
Yeah, why would it not just go up to the end of the contract?
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. Maajid has had some things to say about this himself. If we move along, you can see this is before that. This is just his direct response to that tweet saying that I refuse to go quietly into the night. Please become a paid subscriber to my Substack newsletter. I'll post there soon, but forgive the basic setup for now. I have a wife and child to support, and my show was our family's only source of income. So it seems rather unlikely, you could say, that he would choose to willingly step down from his family's only source of income, wouldn't you say?
Does seem a little bit unlikely, doesn't it?
And also, if you are interested, of course, do go and subscribe to him on Substack. I've not checked out any of his content there, but I'm sure it's very interesting and I'm sure it's very well researched. But there was a follow-up to that, and I thought we'd get this up on Getter, just to, once again, point out he's got a Getter. You're probably safer off following him there. Points of information. 1, I had been scheduled to appear tomorrow. So there's the immediate effect.
Yes.
2, I did not quit. 3, my contract expires in April 2022. So it's not even like it was, oh, you've only got a few weeks left, let's discuss.
Oh, no, he's got months left.
Yeah. He was supposed to have 3 more months of presumably causing LBC internal trouble.
Yes.
And external trouble as well.
Yeah, well, external trouble, getting politicians on their case and things like this. Yeah, like clearly Maajid has been ruffling too many feathers.
Yes, so LBC obviously distorting the facts with their initial statement, shall we say. But let's see what the reaction to this has been. So we've got some random Twitter people,
goons.
yes, ghouls, stating things like Maajid Nawaz and his Quilliam Foundation played a massive part in legitimizing and encouraging the stereotypical and sensationalist framing of Muslims and grooming gangs. He should not have had a mainstream media platform to begin with. Okay, psycho.
Sorry, are we not supposed to have like it?
Are we supposed to just
normal?
tolerate?
Yeah, is it just normal that in these communities you get grooming gangs that seem to be ethnically motivated against the English girls?
Sorry, is it not tolerant of us to not tolerate
Yeah.
this raping going on?
Sorry.
Okay. And then there's been some other statements from people saying things like, I guess Maajid Nawaz will be screaming cancelled, and then it's off to talk radio or GB News to spread his toxic trash.
Well, let's hope so.
Yeah, I was going to say, we can only hope
Good
so.
opportunity for talk radio or GB News, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, there are parts of the partisan media who have decided to latch onto this. We've got a few clips from Navarro Media's coverage of it, where they're, well, let's just see what they have to say on the whole thing.
Please pay close attention to my timeline. I'm trying to show you in real time how you're being targeted by state psyops and manipulative behavioral psychology. I see it from afar. I'm showing you with evidence in every post, more evidence than my detractors post combined. And then we've got an out of place love heart. We'll keep showing you more of these tweets, which kind of explains why this parting of ways has happened. This is when he blamed Antifa for the Capitol riots on the 6th of January 2021.
Spicy.
So he says here, reports on protesters who stormed Capitol Hill being Antifa infiltrators are becoming impossible to ignore. If true, these may fuel a sense of betrayal among Trump supporters further. I am dismayed that pundits are not viewing this civil strife through a conflict resolution lens.
Okay, so they're literally just reading out his tweets with no real explanation for what's wrong about them.
But that was a misframing anyway. He said, if there are reports that are coming in, if this is true, we should be trying to come together and have this conflict resolution lens. He's not saying Antifa did it. And the thing is, there was a chap called Jacob Sullivan who was arrested and then released after storming the Capitol. There's lots of video of him doing
There's a few of
He's
them,
a Black Lives Matter activist, a professional Black Lives Matter activist. So it's like, what's he doing there?
Are we allowed to mention, I think his name's Ray Epps, the man who was seen, filmed the day before in a MAGA hat trying to encourage a number of other people to
go and do it. Yeah, exactly. So
it.
It's not that there isn't anything suspect about January the 6th. But again, like Michael's not even like criticizing. He's not saying he's wrong. He's just saying, like, can you believe he's saying these things? It's like, well, I mean, is he
wrong though?
Yeah.
That's the question. And being a journalist who should hold themselves to certain standards, it's your job to refute what he's saying.
He's not
Navarro
a
Media.
journalist. He is a communist propagandist, and he knows it.
I know,
would be surprised if Michael Walker would even dare call himself a journalist.
I'm trying to hold them to some form of standard.
Why
I know
would you? No,
I know
they're a
it's a
bunch of colleagues.
mistake. I kind of want it so that, partisan or not, that you at least care about the truth. But that's the thing.
Well, they don't care about
These people don't care about the truth.
The truth is anti-communist.
And you can see what happens when they see somebody trying to talk about what they consider to be the truth with evidence to back it up. If you play this clip.
Let's try and be clear about what's happened. And I don't think this is an exaggeration. Many of the things that you just highlighted there in those tweets resemble the kinds of rhetoric and vocabulary you see from QAnon.
There you go. Aaron Bastani, I think that's how you pronounce his name, deciding to correlate what Maajid has been saying the whole time with all of his evidence with QAnon. Just label and dismiss.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, we don't endorse QAnon.
Of course
Frankly, I don't understand what they're even coming on about. No, I don't.
Neither do I, to be honest.
It's really esoteric, and I'm just like, okay, I just don't care. But the point is, look at what Aaron's done here. He's just been like, same kind of vocabulary. I mean, they both speak English, if that's what you're saying, Aaron. But the same, essentially what he's saying is this is an area of thought that is closed off. It's progressive to close off this area of thought. You're not allowed to explore it. You're not allowed to look at evidence in it. You're not allowed to even mention it, or else you get called QAnon.
Yes. He's just taking Twitter tactics into the real world there. And then
it's progressive tactics.
Oh, yeah, that's the point.
It's how they stop themselves from exploring entire, issues that come up.
It's the equivalent of the parent going, don't do that. Why not? Because I say so.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah, they're trying to treat all of us like the children in the situation.
Yeah. Same thing with the grooming gangs with the other Muslim guy as well. It's like, well, this is just sensationalism. It's like, I think there are victims involved,
Yeah, have you spoken to them?
Yeah.
No, of course not. And then there's this other wonderful clip which sums up Navarro Media being completely detached from any semblance of reality.
They've had Katie Hopkins, they've had Farage, now Maajid Nawaz. And for me, really, that tells you something about that station more broadly, which is if Britain does have a Fox News, it's LBC. Because it's people often just saying the strangest things.
I know.
Live on air and just kind of dropping opinion. And it's got no basis in sort of journalistic research or original news gathering.
See, that's why I try and hold them to standard, because they're criticising others for their journalistic research.
That is an amazing statement.
I know. And also, LBC would be much more based if they were like Fox News, let's be honest.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm surprised. He thinks LBC is more Fox News than GB News.
So, I mean, just according to that statement, okay.
This is ridiculous.
But let's see what other kind of presenters LBC have decided to keep on, who are the front-facing representatives of this British Fox News, like Mr. James O'Brien.
I hate James O'Brien.
I know. Have you ever taken a thumb through his books that he's got?
I've never looked at his books, but I've listened to his, like John makes us listen to the show when we drive down to London.
What?
It's insufferable.
John, what's wrong with you?
Well, that's because you're a bigot.
Yes.
Sorry, go.
For anyone unfamiliar with James O'Brien, I think he could be succinctly summed up as a fart-huffing, condescending prick.
Yeah.
And he is obviously a real Fox News type. And let's see some of that Fox News style reporting. This is a clip I found from his show where he was talking to someone after the Black Lives Matter taking the knee issue that was going on with the footballers earlier on this year, where somebody called in to say, actually, I'm not particularly happy with these footballers taking a black nationalist communist stance in front of
Weirdly.
on behalf of the English people. And let's see what James O'Brien's response to that was.
Tom is in Hampstead. Tom, what would you like to say?
Good morning. I was actually at the Riverside yesterday, and I booed the knee.
Okay. Why do you think the players are doing it?
I know the reasons that they've said that they're doing it.
So you booed that then?
No.
So you booed the reasons that they haven't said?
My undertone is that when I hear the word Black Lives Matter, I think of burning buildings in America, attacking the police and violent protests.
Yes.
So I'm not...
Have you tried not to?
Sorry?
Have you tried not to think that? Have you tried to think about the words and what they actually mean?
One of my aunties actually was killed during a Black Lives Matter protest last year.
And that's appalling. But have you tried thinking about what the words actually mean?
What?
No, James. I keep thinking about their actions, because actions speak louder than words, James, you pillock.
Yeah,
bloody hell.
He goes on to make this ridiculous comparison, like, well, if I came into a room and you were on one knee, it's not for me to tell you what that knee means. Okay. If I came into a room and you were Sieg Heiling,
yeah.
what does that say? Am I not allowed to tell you what that means?
Yeah.
But yeah, also, once again, the absolute disgusting dismissal of that man's personal tragedy. Well, your personal suffering is not as important to me as my pet political cause. Coming from the empathetic left, as always. But then just to point out as well, LBC, as much as Navarro Media tries to make it sound, oh, they had Katie Hopkins, they had Nigel Farage, they have a track record for just getting rid of these people when they become politically inconvenient for them.
Yep.
After Nigel Farage was kicked off of LBC, after he was criticising the Marxist Black Lives Matter movement, I mean, where would he get those ideas from? Maybe their founders, Patrisse Cullors. Nigel Farage has continued his attacks on Black Lives Matter protesters hours after LBC pulled the plug on his radio show amid growing staff anger at his controversial
and I imagine
comments.
there was probably staff anger about Maajid's comments too.
I bet there was. So it doesn't really matter who the presenters of LBC are, whether they've got, people who say that they lean more to the right or the left or whatever. The staffers all seem to be a bunch of rabid leftists who are going to throw a fit if you say anything that comes out of their approved narrative. They also dropped Katie Hopkins in the past for comments that she tweeted out on Islamic terrorism. How controversial. So I would say LBC, now that they don't have Maajid, is completely worthless, not worth listening to. And just to sum it up, John put this out, LBC after firing Maajid is now just NPC, which is a good place to end it, I'd say.
Yeah.
If you enjoyed that segment from the podcast, The Lotus Eaters, you can go to lotuseaters.com and subscribe to get access to all the premium content we have on the site, such as this article from Josh, Bill Gates from saving the world to worldwide infamy, in which he goes into, what a scumbag Bill Gates actually is. And there is an audio track there for Silver and Gold tier members in case you don't like reading. If you'd like to find out what else is coming out on the website, you can always follow us at Getter at lotuseaters_com, being the @. Thank you and goodbye.